Let's get the GOP response now from the chair of the Republican Conference of the Senate, John Barrasso. Senator Barrasso, thank you for joining us this morning. You heard Brian Deese right there on the Build Back Better plan. He says it's fully paid for, it's going to reduce the deficit, and 17 Nobel laureates back the White House judgment that it's not going to increase inflation.
Well, first, happy anniversary. I started watching with David Brinkley and continue to watch today. And in response to what the president's advisor said here, look, the American people have given this president failing grades across the board on his first quarter report card, failing because of high costs and prices, failing because of an overrun border, failing because of the tragedy in the failure in Afghanistan. So only 1 in 5 Americans think the country is heading in the right direction. And no matter what bill the president happens to sign tomorrow, that's not going to change the failing grades. The problem is the Democrats are now saying we want to go all in with this massive tax and spending bill, which is going to harm American families. People are going to pay higher prices. There are going to be higher taxes. And of course, we're going to see an increase in the debt. So the Republicans are heading in the right direction. The Democrats are full speed ahead against the ideas of what the American people want. And even Jason Furman, who was President Obama's economic advisor, he said what they're proposing here will add to inflation in 2022.
The tax increases are going almost solely to millionaires, and the White House says that the Nobel laureates believe that it will not increase inflation. What evidence do you have that it will?
Well, there are a couple of things, and let's start with this is not really just $2 trillion. I think it's much closer to $4 trillion because what the Democrats have added in after their election losses has been tax breaks for millionaires. This is not just me saying it. The experts are saying with what is in this bill, and Americans, the more they find out about it, the less they like it. Specifically, all the new IRS agents who are going to be hired, an army of IRS agents to do more audits. The experts are telling us that 30% of middle-class Americans will end up paying higher taxes. And what Nancy Pelosi has shoved in, the special tax breaks for millionaires in California, New York, New Jersey, that is actually going to give a tax break to 2/3 of the millionaires in America. The reason I think prices are going to go way up is because of some of the things that they have put into the bill on energy and on climate, which are going to raise energy costs considerably in the year ahead at a time when the American people are already paying sky-high prices to heat their homes, to drive their cars, to buy groceries, and inflation, as we know, hurts the most vulnerable. Who gets hurt with inflation? It's the poor people, the people living on a fixed income, it's the elderly, it's all of these folks struggling to get by. I would have never believed that Joe Biden, in just 10 months in the presidency, could bring us to a 30-year high of inflation.
Let's talk about the infrastructure bill he's going to sign into law tomorrow. Bipartisan infrastructure bill. The White House has put out a fact sheet showing the benefits to your state of Wyoming. I want to show it to our audience right now. They say $1.8 billion for highways, $225 million for bridge replacement and repairs, $100 million for broadband, $335 million for water infrastructure, and $72 million for airports. Why did you vote against a bill that provides so many benefits to your state?
Well, you know, I was one of the original negotiators at the White House with President Biden, and ultimately I voted against it because they did use a lot of budget gimmicks, and they are adding $256 billion to the debt. And some of the issues in there in terms of energy, I think is going to make energy even more expensive, and I think is going to make the grid less reliable. And then, of course, the big thing is they handcuffed this infrastructure bill to this big, massive tax and spending bill, which every Republican is united in our efforts to try to drive a stake through the heart of this effort, which the Democrats are pushing because they are so addicted to taxing and spending.
Finally, I want to ask you about President Trump. As you know, John Carl, our chief Washington correspondent, had an interview with President Trump he released this week where the president seems to defend those who are saying, hang Mike Pence on January 6th. Want to show it.
Were you worried about him during that siege? Were you worried about his safety?
No, I thought he was well protected, and I had heard that he was in good shape. No,
you heard those chants. That was terrible. I mean, those, you know,
he could have. Well, the people were very angry.
They're saying, "Hang Mike
Pence."
Because
it's common sense. How can you, if you know a vote is fraudulent, right?
Yeah.
How can you pass on a fraudulent vote to Congress?
So he says, hang Mike Pence is common sense. Can your party tolerate a leader who defends murderous chants against his own vice president?
Well, let me just say, the Republican Party is incredibly united right now, and it's because of the policies of this administration. And I think the more that the Democrats and the press becomes obsessed with President Trump, I think the better it is for the Republican Party. President Trump brings lots of energy to the party. He's an enduring force. But elections are about the future, not the past. And that's what we saw in Virginia and all across the country. And the Republican policies and the Trump policies of a strong economy and American energy, not begging Vladimir Putin to produce more oil, which is what Joe Biden is doing. Those are policies that we're going to continue to run on in the future.
So you have no problem with the president saying, hang Mike Pence is common sense?
I was with Mike Pence in the Senate chamber during January 6th, and what happened was they quickly got Vice President Pence out of there, certainly a lot faster than they removed the senators. I believed he was safe the whole time. I didn't hear any of those chants. I don't believe that he did either. And Vice President Pence came back into the chamber that night and certified the election.
Well, we just played the chants. I'm asking if you believe, if you can tolerate the president saying, hang Mike Pence is common sense.
It's not common sense. There are issues of every election. I voted to certify the election, and what we have seen on this election, there are areas that needed to be looked into, like what we saw in Pennsylvania. We all want fair and free elections. That's where we need to go for the future.
But you're not going to criticize President Trump for those views?
I don't agree with President Trump on everything. I agree with him on the policies that have brought us the best economy in my lifetime, and I'm going to continue to support those policies and continuing to work to stop what Joe Biden is doing to this country, which I believe is almost irreversibly bad.
Senator Barrasso, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.